You've probably heard that pitch, rhythm, and harmony are the exact same thing at wildly different speeds. If I take a regular pulse and speed it up enough, the rhythm will gain enough periodicity that your brain stops perceiving it as rhythm and starts perceiving it as pitch. But let's take it one step further. This is music theory's final boss, Jacob Collier, performing a 2 against 3 against 4 against 5 against 6 polyrhythm with one hand, which is an insane feat in its own right, especially given that we only have 5 fingers per hand, but it goes so much deeper than that. Here is that polyrhythm mapped out. Now let's gradually speed it up and hear Jacob's polyrhythm morph into a major chord before our very ears. Every time I see or hear that demonstration, it never ceases to blow my mind. The 4:5:6 ratio not only describes this polyrhythm, but also the harmonic ratio that defines a justly intonated major chord. That's why it works. It's essentially the same thing, the same spatial relationships, just at wildly different speeds. In other words, and from a certain perspective, what Jacob is actually doing is covering the THX theme at like 400% slowed speed. Rhythm equals pitch equals harmony is one of those music science fun facts that gets shared around a lot. I'd honestly be surprised if this is the first time you've ever seen this demonstration. But that's usually as far as this idea goes. Show that a simple polyrhythm like 4 against 5 against 6 can be sped up to make something like a major chord, and well, that's usually it. But like, can you do this with other chords and other intervals? I'm a huge polyrhythm enthusiast, and I'm also a huge microtonal enthusiast. And I'm like, so I'm like, hey, let's connect these two worlds. Please, baby, please just hold on for a little bit longer. I'm a huge polyrhythm enthusiast, and I'm also a huge microtonal nerd. So I'm like, hey, let's connect these two worlds. What kind of insane polyrhythmic madness lurks inside of a chord that sounds like... Why does this chord have this polyrhythm in it? And, like, how do you even play that? We can slow down chords to discover their polyrhythms, but we can also speed up polyrhythms to discover their chords, which leaves me with the only logical question one could ever have at this point. What does a truly insane polyrhythm, like the Fibonacci polyrhythm for instance, sound like if we speed it up by like 500%? Today, I'd like to answer all of these questions, and I'd like to do it through a deep analysis of Maqam intervals. That is, the microtonal notes, melodic structures, and systems found in Arabic, Turkish, Persian, and related Middle Eastern music traditions. So, come with me. We're going on a polyrhythm hunt. But first, if you think juggling a 2 against 3 against 4 against 5 against 6 polyrhythm is hard, try shaving with a dull razor. It's an absolute nightmare. That's where today's sponsor, Henson Shaving, comes in. Look at this razor. Look at it, I say. It's made of pure, lightweight aluminum designed by aerospace machinists for ultimate precision. Henson Shaving has engineered the perfect shave with a blade that extends just 1/1000th of an inch beyond the shave plane. That's less than the thickness of a single human hair. The attention to detail isn't just for show. It's all done with intention to reduce irritation and give you the best shave possible. No skipping, no bouncing, no irritation. And the best part, you buy it once and it lasts you a lifetime. Replacement blades cost just 10 cents each. That's like $3 to $5 a year. Compare that to how much you spend on cartridge blades and you'll realize real quick that Henson Shaving is the way to go. Head over to hensonshaving.com/Levi McLean and use my special discount Levi McLean at checkout to get 100 blades for free with the purchase of a Henson razor. Big thank you to Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to them sweet polyrhythms. This is Maqam Rast. In Arabic music, maqamat are structured by connecting different ajnas together. Ajnas, or jints in the singular, are these little melodic fragments. In the West, we like to think of these as either 5-note pentachords or 4-note tetrachords. Let's start with this pentachord. Jints Rast. You'll notice that our third here is actually half flat. So we have C, D, E half flat, F, and G. From our root, this microtone forms a neutral third interval. From a tuning theory and math perspective, we can really generate this neutral third in a number of ways. The most popular Western approximation lies exactly halfway between the minor third, 300 cents, and the major third at 400 cents. But the neutral third at 350 cents is going to give us some real squirrely looking harmonic math that I wouldn't even begin to know how to tap out as a polyrhythm. Besides, strict intervallic adherence to 24-tone equal temperament hardly describes historic practice across the landscape of all Middle Eastern music, even today. So, instead, let's consult the GOAT of 10th century Eastern music theory, Mr. Abu Nasr Muhammad Al-Farabi. Al-Farabi, as I will be lovingly calling him for the rest of this video, was a prominent Muslim scholar, philosopher, and music theorist. He was widely regarded in the medieval Islamic world as the greatest philosophical authority after Aristotle, earning him the title of the second teacher. I mean, check it out, the dude was literally on money, so you know he had to be making some sense when it came to the microtones. In Kitab al-Musiqa al-Kabir, Al-Farabi splits a theoretical octave into 20,736 parts and determines that this interval here at 20,736 to 16,896 parts to be what is known as the medius Zulzul. The middle interval, named after Mansur Zulzul, a famous Iranian oud player from the Abbasid period, who is said to have introduced the neutral third to oud music in his day. This medius Zulzul, which was also known as the Wusta Zalzal, assuming I'm pronouncing that right, is known today in the West as the neutral third. Now, this polyrhythm is certifiably insane, right? 20,736 to 16,896. Just one cycle of this is legitimately going to take hours to complete. But fortunately, that's absolutely not necessary for one to be able to recognize a repeating pattern within it, because this ratio actually reduces down to 27 to 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 1. And when we speed it up, ladies and gentlemen, may I present the medius Zulzul. The medius Zulzul. So, what does a 27 against 22 polyrhythm sound like as a groove? Of course, there are other ways to build the neutral third. Persian polymath Ibn Sina later characterized the neutral third as 39 to 32 instead, roughly 12 cents narrower than Al-Farabi's interval. And finally, in the mathematical theory of tone systems, Jan Haluska describes the undecimal neutral third as 11 to 9. Now, that's all fun and good. We've explored a few different polyrhythms, but really only one interval. And if we take this maqam as a whole and consider it in a continuous linear form, we have a few other interesting intervals that are outside of 12 equal that pop up. Take the neutral seventh here. What happens if we slow that way down? Huh, 11 to 6. That's pretty neat. What about full chords? I know it's maybe a little bit atypical to lead with a vertical mindset when it comes to maqams and Arabic music, but I couldn't help but notice that there's a nice set of neutral chords scattered between Jins Rast and upper Rast. These chords boil down to an 18 to 22 to 27 polyrhythm, which is pretty neat. It sounds like this. Now, probably the craziest polyrhythm that I know of and have performed in the past is the Fibonacci loop. So basically we have a spiral of numbers here where each new number is the sum of the two that precedes it. So we start with 0 plus 1 equals 1, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3, 3 plus 2 equals 5, 5 plus 3 equals 8, and so on and so forth until we have this monstrosity of a polyrhythm. And you know what? I've always wondered what this thing sounds like sped up. So let's do the thing. So why am I doing this? Mostly just for funsies, sure, but there's something more to it than that. I just think it's fascinating that you can arrive to what your ears perceive as essentially the same interval in a number of different ways that, when slowed down, produce radically different rhythmic experiences. It's just super neat that this and this both essentially produce the same sound when sped up. Like, our ability to tell the difference between an 11 to 9 and 16 to 13 polyrhythm seems much greater than our ability to tell the difference between two neutral thirds that are just a couple cents off from each other. Granted, it's not exactly fair to directly compare the two. Our ears and brains perceive rhythm and pitch through two completely different processes. Pitch is notoriously faster. It's processed through the auditory cortex through something called a tonophonic map. Your brain decodes the relationship between frequencies and processes harmony all in about 10 to 50 milliseconds from hearing the initial sound. Rhythm is much slower and relies on a way wider network, motor-related areas like the cerebellum and the basal ganglia. The brain tracks the timing of sound onsets, predicting when the next event will occur. This is a process called entrainment. Your brain groups pulses into beats and meters, so the perception of rhythm unfolds over longer timescales. We're talking in the realm of hundreds to thousands of milliseconds. All that to say, while it's true that we experience pitch faster and more immediately than rhythm, I wouldn't be terribly surprised to find out that we experience rhythm more saliently than pitch. This seems to be intuitively true. How many times do we tell our students that it's far better to hit the wrong note than it is to have bad time? We seem to have more wiggle room for pitch than we do for rhythm. I mean, as a microtonalist, I certainly hope that's the case. Perhaps this has to do with the very nature of how we perceive rhythm comparatively. Or maybe humans just have a proclivity for expected beat onsets, tension followed by release, and sick-ass beats. Either way, this experiment in harmonic rhythm, I find, provides a unique way to stress test that seemingly universal intuition. even if it's just a means of confirming it. Rhythm equals pitch equals harmony might be an inescapable fact of physics, but it doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't capture the everyday human experience of sound at wildly different speeds. We experience rhythm and pitch differently in the real world, partly because of the hardware in our heads, mostly because of the software which drives us. That said, while it might not help you on the bandstand to think too deeply of such things, I suspect there's still much to be learned, and more importantly, a whole lot of really interesting music to be made by exploring the relationship between these two fundamental aspects of the thing we love. Huge shout out to all of our patrons now on screen for making this video and all future videos possible. If you want to support this channel's mission of getting as much educational microtonal content out there as humanly possible, then Patreon is by far the best way to do it. We've got a bunch of in-depth lectures, including an entire crash course on microtonal harmony for the modern musician, a bunch of really cool bonus theory videos, as well as some practical ones, like how to microtune in your DAW and various ways of actually producing microtonal music with modern instruments. I also have production and bass lessons where I show you how I make my music from start to finish, as well as a bunch of virtual instruments and sample packs as well. Come study with me. I really do make it a point to make myself available to all of our patrons to answer questions, geek out about music theory, and help develop and foster a thriving community of microtonal music theory nerds. Jordy and I await you with open arms and, of course, a whole lot of notes.